So if you're a shop owner and you're not already seeing the following, you will be soon. Like your parents or grandparents are going to be using ChatGPT very soon if they're not already.
So the world is changing quickly, from economic uncertainty to AI. Even legacy industries like tire and auto can't escape the change. I'm excited to have Jason Abrams, the CEO of TireTutor, to learn more about how his company is helping transform the tire and auto industry. So Jason,
Yep.
tell me, what is TireTutor?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for asking, Mike, and thanks for having me on here today. Really appreciate it. So TireTutor is the first AI native shop management system built from the ground up for independent tire dealers. So we do three core things. We power e-commerce and online scheduling and online tire selling for our dealers. We power point of sale, and we also power supply chain, all in one screen, one piece of software built from the ground up to be AI native.
Wow. So take me back. How did you come up with the idea for TireTutor?
Yeah, so I got to take you kind of way back, but so it's really kind of a labor of love, as they say, right? So I grew up in the automotive industry. My father ran a car dealership when I was a kid, so I got into the automotive business really, really young. I had two brothers, and my mom would drop me off at the dealership oftentimes to get one of the kids off of her hands. And so I'd go hang out with my dad, and my dad was always really big into wheels and tires. Always said that wheels and tires make a car. And so I got really into wheels and tires young. And I launched my first startup, which was a direct-to-consumer website for tires and high-performance car parts 23 years ago, actually, when selling tires online was like a really new thing. We were amongst the first to do that. So that was my first company in the tire industry 23 years ago in 2002. But really what got me to build TireTutor AI here was essentially I had a bunch of dealers of mine when I was at Hankook that told me like, hey, Jason, we need better software, better digital marketing tools, better point of sale to compete effectively in this new changing world. And so I had a few of my dealers really kind of twist my wrist and say like, Jason, go start a company doing this. And so that's where it all started from, was listening to my dealers.
So when you first started TireTutor, right, the brand, I think it was 7 or 8 plus years ago.
Mhm.
Um, what did you start out selling, and then what did you ever pivot? What did the market want, and where are you today?
Yeah, I think it's a lot like, many companies, it's evolved over time, right? And so the first product we brought to the market when we first started TireTutor was our e-commerce product. And so you can think of this really as two pieces. And so piece number one is an online tire catalog that goes on the dealer's website as a plugin that allows those dealers to sell tires themselves online to customers in their local area, right? So the first thing was, I really got motivated by this concept that consumers should be able to search for tires from local independent dealers and
Mm,
purchase and schedule for those installations right from the dealer's website. And that those independents should be able to sell these tires and install these tires right themselves, and not just install tires that some other website sold, right? That there's a space for that too. But what we wanted to do is enable independent dealers to make the full sale themselves, right? And own that customer themselves. So that was our first product. And that was part one of it. And then part two of it was our service scheduler, right? So there are lots of different kinds of service schedulers out there. And we have a very robust service scheduler that allows consumers to book auto repair appointments off of independent tire dealers on the dealer's website. And then our service scheduler does the remarketing to bring those customers back to the dealership on a regular basis. We want those consumers going to those dealers on a regular basis. We want to create kind of annuities of those customers, right? And service those customers better by having them not forget to go back for their tire rotations, as an example.
I appreciate that. So, like you, I was actually born in the automotive as well, through my father. Funny enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We also have manufacturing backgrounds in common. So
Yeah.
you're on more on the retail side now, I would say, right?
Yeah.
E-commerce.
Yeah.
What changes do you see happening overall in the tire and auto industry, let's say over the next 5, 10 years? Any segment, right? Channel or of distribution.
Yeah. I think the two biggest things that are happening uh, in kind of the retail segment of the tire business tires and auto repair, number one has got to be agentic. And so, one of the key things we talk about a lot these days, and one of the key things we've been working on for the past few years actually, is around agentic search friendly websites
Can
for
you
intent.
describe what that means? Because
Yeah.
I know in your
So,
world it's probably common.
yeah. In fact, I just left a meeting on it right before this meeting with my product
Okay.
team, right? So we're just working on this day in, day out. And so essentially, if you think about how people have shopped over time and how it's evolved over time, right? People used to kind of go way back. People used to go to like the town square market, and they would exchange goods, right? And then you fast forward from there, a lot, and you get to basically like stores and then strip plazas and then malls, and then you get to kind of the dot-com boom, and you get to SEO and SEM, right? And then you get to
Mhm.
social, and social was a big like transformation for shopping. Well, what's happening now is we're part of the AI revolution, right? The AI revolution is here. And so if you look at the stats, right, the most recent stats I've seen is that over 60% of consumers are now searching to buy products in agentic. They're searching in Chat GPT. They're
Ah,
searching in Gemini, right? So in fact, like Google's traffic has gone down, right? Like, so they're using Chat GPT as an example to say like, hey, what tires should I put in my car? Or where can I get tires for my vehicle, right? Or who does good brake jobs in my town? And so we see that this is a huge change, and the dealers need to have the correct software and digital marketing presence to be seen in agentic search such as ChatGPT, and TireTutor does that.
so what's the difference between, like, let's say the old school methodologies, or let's say ranking on Google for websites versus the agentic or searching through the GPTs?
Yeah, I think there's like two key things that really stand out. So one is, if you rewind back to like the late kind of 90s, early 2000s, and it was like keyword stuffing all the time, right? And then Google figured out keyword stuffing, and sometimes you get penalized for keyword stuffing. So just like dropping a bunch of keywords on your website, that's not necessarily the answer anymore to SEO, and it hasn't been for a long time, right? And then Google kind of shifted towards, okay, like, is this site providing relevancy? Is it a good user experience? Is it fast, right? And so now, if you look at the agentic avenues, right? So you look at ChatGPT, Gemini, and others, they want to provide answers, right? So it's really about like providing structured data so that these agentic tools can render answers for the consumer, not just links to like other websites, right? So you're getting into contextual like conversations, right? And for the agents to be useful, they have to be able to see the structured data from your website to provide actual answers, right? And so it's this focus on content that provides answers so that the agents can really help the consumer achieve their actual mission when they're in one of these agents having dialogue, right? Because you don't want to talk to somebody. Think about like a conversation. You don't want to have a conversation with a person and the person's just always like, oh, go to my website at www.tiretutor.ai. Like that's not what people want to hear, right? People want to actually have a conversation, and they expect the same thing from their AI.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're actually looking at new CRMs for us, and agentic, it seems to be the term that we keep seeing, even in the one selling, for what they're capable of. So how can shop owners prepare for, I guess, this next chapter of agentic AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I would, I used to own two shops, and I think the like if I own a shop here today, and what I try to tell dealers when I'm talking to dealers every day, here at Tire Tutor is I would ask yourself and ask your current vendors like, is my site agentic search friendly? What are you doing there, and see what kind of answers you get, right? I think that's one. You can also, of course, like do searches yourself, right, and see what kind of comes up. But it's a new space,
Hmm.
but it's moving fast,
Hmm.
and so I think the focus here should be not necessarily around like, okay, what's in my website today, or how agentic search friendly is my website today, but I think it should be focused more on, okay, let's accept that it's a new space. And then let's think about what do we do moving forward? How do we capitalize upon this opportunity moving forward? Because frankly, this should be a huge opportunity for the independents. It really should be, right? If we think about the fact that like auto repair and tire purchasing is local and tires have to be installed on a vehicle's car at the end of the day, this is a way to kind of democratize like the consumer shopping experience through agentic, right? So if you're prepared for this, or if you start preparing for this now, you really should be able to drive more cars into your bays than ever before, especially if you're early to it. So I would be asking myself, like, hey, what do we have now? Who are partners and vendors who are looking into the space who are working on this, and try to attach yourself to those vendors who are doing work in this space. And we're not the only ones, right?
Sure. Yeah. So what's the percentage? And I guess we're including auto repair, right? Auto part retail and tires. What's the percentage you would say that are on this sort of platform currently, or always working towards it versus not at all?
I think there's a lot of technical debt out there
Okay.
in a lot of existing platforms, website platforms. Um, and I would say, from what I've seen, I think it's really kind of like your 20% of the market and of vendors right now that are actually focused on infrastructure for AI and for
Mm,
agentic search. We're amongst the 20%. We're not the only ones, but I think that I would say probably like the 80% really are kind of looking at their platforms and saying there's just too much technical debt here to make this transition. And frankly, kind of, I think to some level, hoping it doesn't move as fast as I think it's going to move. And I think it's moving faster than everybody expected it to move. And that reminds me a lot of like the dot-com boom, right?
yeah.
It was a similar thing. It just moved. People are like, oh, the internet, that's going to go away, right? And then like, we're talking on the internet right now, right? Like that didn't go away. And so I think that's where I'd say you want to be moving where the consumer is moving, right? Because at the end of the day, those cars are going to need to get serviced, whether or not it's tires or auto repair. And we want to drive those cars into your bays, into our bays, right? Collectively, our bays. And so focusing on, okay, where are the consumers going now, and how do we bring them in is how we should be looking at things, right? I mean, like I'm in my 40s, but if you're not already seeing this, if you're a shop owner and you're not already seeing the following, you will be soon. Like your parents or grandparents are going to be using ChatGPT very soon if they're not already, right?
Yeah. I just gave a talk at a safety summit for the TIA association, and
Mhm.
most of the
That's
room
great.
was probably our age or a touch older, and more than 50% use ChatGPT on a regular basis. Just to give you a stat of how much it's shifted in the past couple of years alone, because I think if I asked that 2 years ago, it would have been much less.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's really around this like answer engine optimization, right? Like AEO. Like we wanna really prepare the dealers to be able to have their websites and their digital presence answer questions for those consumers who are online. I think that's part A of this. And
Hmm.
then I think part B of this is agentic um, in other ways. Outside of your website, I think what you're also going to see is that consumers are going to expect to interact with agents in other ways, such as like over the phone, right?
Okay.
And get answers more quickly. So you're going to see agentic, not just from like, okay, the key most popular tools such as ChatGPT and Gemini and others. You're also going to see it. The consumers are going to expect to get faster answers by talking to agents 24 hours a day when they're ready to make a purchase, right?
Versus speaking to a human, it's actually going to be more expected and then eventually preferred, right? Like
Correct.
I don't even want to talk to a human.
Yeah, just same way like nobody wants to pick up the phone these days, right?
Yeah.
Right? You write emails or you send text messages, right? Like it's the same thing with what's coming with agentic, right? As well, right? Like why do I want to talk to somebody at the counter, who's distracted, who's also like talking to, a person in front of them at the shop, and who's got a parts delivery guy delivering parts, when I can maybe talk to an agent who can actually give me their undivided attention, right?
Mhm.
Like this is where I think things are going, and I think it's going to happen faster than I think many forecast.
So I remember when I used to work for a tire manufacturer, the saying was like 60 or 70% of the tire buying decisions were heavily influenced by the actual counter salesman.
Yeah.
Is that, would you say, going to erode over time because of what you're seeing with AI?
I think what's going to happen is I think two things are going to happen on this front. So I think the technologies that are cutting edge are going to basically leverage the domain knowledge of the shops and of the counter people and give the consumer choice of how
Mm,
they want to interact, right? Either talking to a counter person or talking to an agent that has been trained to know as much content or more than the counter person, right? And, I think part of this is around ensuring that the software systems you're utilizing in this new AI revolution match the way you want to conduct your business, right? And the kinds of brands you want to sell, right? Whether or not it's the kinds of brands of tires, tier one, tier two, et cetera, or also like the kinds of parts you're putting into brakes when you're doing brake jobs, as an example, right? Like the AI you're utilizing online or in store should kind of match your preferences as a shop, so that as a shop you can run a more efficient business, but a business that's also true to your values as a shop.
So, and it sounds like that's what TireTutor actually will do, provide, let's say,
Correct.
an agent to help sell through the website.
Correct. Yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So we want to help consumers buy more tires and service off of their local independents. That's always been our mission since day one. Right. We started this business. I'm a former independent tire dealer, so it started by an independent tire dealer for independent tire dealers. Right. We want to support like small businesses, local communities, and I think that technology, if used properly, can do that better than anything.
Awesome. So shifting gears, 2 weeks ago, I had Paul Wrights on, the CEO of Titan International, and he gave me an example of going through final interviews with some folks and talking about kind of this new age that we're in and the type of individual it takes to succeed on his team. Looking for really what I think I summarize as a gritty person versus really just looking at the black and white resume and
Yeah.
checking the boxes. So you've worked in a few large companies and now you run a very transformative startup.
Yeah.
So you've seen what it takes to build cultures and teams from these different perspectives. So what's Jason's current philosophy around hiring and scaling teams in this new world that we operate in?
Yeah, I think the most important thing when you're building out teams, so like to your point, I've been in management essentially all my career. I studied management undergrad, I studied management in grad school, and I've been practicing it, which I think is the most important thing. Uh, and to me, the one trait that stands out more than anything else, especially with technology, right, is curiosity. I really think that's the key thing I'm looking for as we're building out teams and as we're hiring people, like people who are curious about just what's coming next, how to run smarter businesses, right? How they can contribute to the company they're at today, and kind of always, so to speak, pushing the envelope, right? And I think that comes from curiosity. So that's what I usually look for: curiosity. I think if you're curious and you have, like standard level of intelligence, really, you can do most anything, because you're going to find the answer and you're going to find the people who have the answers. And you can then build a team around yourself of other people who are maybe smarter than you.
Hmm.
And so I think curiosity is the main driving factor. I think the second one, as an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, Mike. I've known you for, I don't know, 15 years or so now. Like, I think that the second one to me is grit, like I think you mentioned a moment ago, right? I think grit is much more important than pedigree for sure. And I think that's where you see, amazing things get done in the world time and time again, right? Whether or not it's in the tire industry or any industry or putting the man on the moon, right? It's like grit, right? Like not giving up, I think is really one of the other key factors I look for. But curiosity, it's like you have to know, you have to be like asking questions,
Hmm.
right? And then you can have like the grit to go take action on those questions you've been asking.
Yeah, that's great. So if you're interviewing someone and you ask them, what did you learn about us on our website? And they say I didn't check it out yet, probably fail right there, right?
Right there, right there. Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I like the curiosity piece. Going back to the AI and the independent dealer, just shifting back, I was thinking about that with the hiring as well. Tire techs. I know that's probably not your forte, but I'm sure you speak to a lot of
Yep, yep,
shop owners, and it's like a
sure.
big issue, right? As a recruiter,
Yep.
we obviously don't have a answer for it either. But where do you see, I guess, tire techs being impacted over time with AI or
Yeah.
helping?
So at the end of the day, like I look at this. Um, there's two pieces to this. There's one
Mhm.
like the human piece of this, and people want to still like have a human element at some level, right? And even if the AI is helping with that, people enjoy the human element. And that's why I'm saying AI should kind of, to some extent, replicate the human nature of your store
Mhm.
wherever possible. So I think there's like that piece. And then if you can bring in those cars more efficiently from better systems, then you can run a tighter shop. And so I think that really this is the systems like optimization problem, right? It's similar to like, think about like Toyota production system, manufacturing, right? I think this is not that different. And
Okay.
so I would utilize, AI to help me essentially schedule better, right? And these are things that we're looking into here at TireTutor right now, right? And I won't like divulge too much on this, but basically, you know, a lot of what's going on in AI um, like I said before, coming up with answers. And
Okay.
so if you can look at, okay, John does these 19-inch low profile staggered fitments like really efficiently, never scratches the wheels, versus like Sam, who maybe sometimes he does, right? Like,
Give Sam the older F-150 and
yeah,
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 I get
yeah,
what you're kind of
right. And
getting.
so AI, I think, can help with this.
Huh.
And I think the smartest shops will be using AI to help with this, and that'll create more throughput and also allow, for uh, just better efficiency in the shop with the staff that people have right now, right? I also think that there's going to be, huge demand for technicians as there already is and has been, right?
Sure.
Um, and I think that your smarter techs will be using AI themselves to work on cars faster, whether or not it's tires or other kind of work. They'll be using AI themselves in the shop to work on cars faster. So, and I think that is actually going to create a world where you have more qualified technicians available
Sure.
because they have more resources at their disposal to be better at their jobs.
And Gen Z is pretty excited about the tech.
Yeah.
So from a retention standpoint, that sounds pretty strong.
Yeah.
So Jason, I appreciate it. Are you going to be at SEMA in a few weeks?
Yeah. Thanks for asking, Mike. Yeah, we'll be at SEMA in a few weeks. We'll have two booths. We'll have one booth at SEMA and another booth at Apex. I would give you the booth numbers if I had them memorized, but
Yeah.
I don't. But so yeah, we'll be at both SEMA and Apex in 2 weeks. So looking forward to seeing lots of people there.
Awesome. And if someone wants to maybe join your team or learn or even sign up if they're an independent dealer and learn more about Tire Tutor, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, best way to reach out to me is simply Jason, Jason, at tiretutor.com or Jason at tiretutor.ai. Always looking for great, smart, curious, gritty people on our team and always looking for forward looking dealers, right? We are building this transformation with independent dealers who are embracing the future. So if you're one of those looking towards the future and looking towards leveraging technology to build a better business, we always want to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jason. See you in a few weeks, and thanks for a great conversation.
I'll see you then, Mike. Thanks so much.